Hey, greetings everybody. How you guys doing? I'm not trying to make this video too long, but as the title states, dear mom, um, this video it's emotional for me, but I really don't cry too much. But it is emotional for me, and that is a part of me and a part of my past, a part of what I guess has me in this depressive state. Because I didn't have the traditional family lifestyle. I didn't have mom and dad in home. I didn't have mom and dad raising me until I was a young adult. I didn't have that. And I used to envy that so much. I would hide that. And it is part of the reason why I was so rebellious against my dad and my stepmom was because, to be honest, I felt like that um, when my dad had my younger sister and my younger brother, like they were like the perfect replacement to replace me. Um, I got to see both my younger siblings grow up and have the benefits of having both mom and dad in home, and I envy that so badly because it hurt a lot when I would ask my dad to come to things, and people would be like, "Where's your mother?" And I didn't have a mom to say, "This is my mom." My mom and dad split. I'm not going to talk about the reasons why they split. That's their business, but they did split. They split up when I was young. I was in elementary school, and the school counselor pulled me and my sister into the office and told us that things in our household was going to change, which I thought was weird. Somebody that I didn't think would know what's going on in my household knows what's going on and is telling me something that I should know that I didn't know. But I know that it traumatized me in a very big way, and I suppressed it. I shoved it down and just acted like everything was okay. Now that's what Tito did all the time. Was just shove things down, bury the pain, and act like everything's okay. Um, and like I told you guys before on the live stream, my mom suffered a couple of strokes in the last couple of years, so I know it's coming close to that time. I pray every day. I get happy when she picks up the phone when I call her to check on her, but I'm always scared that I'm going to do that one phone call that's just not going to get an answer on the other end. And I've already told my family that when my mom passes away, I don't want to deal with anybody. Like, don't call me. Don't try to reminisce the old days with me and mom and all this other stuff. I don't want to hear it. I don't care. Just let me be and let me suffer in my own pain. Because there's a lot of questions that I have today that I won't ask my mom because, she suffered strokes. Don't want her to stress out trying to think and remember things that she may have forgotten because of the damage that has happened with the blood clot in her brain. If you don't know what a stroke is, Google it. But basically, yeah, it's a blood clot that blocks oxygen from reaching a certain part of your brain, and then that part of your brain dies. And I just don't want my mom to stress on those things. But there's a lot about my mom that I don't know because if you guys didn't know, I was mostly raised by my dad. My dad was there in my life since birth. He spent a year away from me when I was still, a young baby, when he had to go and be stationed in Korea for I think it was like a year. Then he came back to where he was originally stationed, and the family uprooted from there and went to Clark Air Force Base in the Philippines. And we lived there for a while, but then my mom and dad separated. That's where the separation and the divorce happened. Well, yeah. Well, the divorce happened after that, but they were separated. And my dad had me and my sister because he was in the military, and my mom felt like he could better take care of me and my sister than she could. My mom only had a third grade level of education from Thailand. My mom, she comes from a farm family out there, and she went to school until third grade, where then she had to quit school to go fishing to help catch fish so they could sell the fish at the market in town. So that's what my mom did. So that's why when people are like, hard work this and hard work that, and people at my job complain about things that I can't relate because they're not doing stuff that my mom did. They're not going to a rice paddy field and picking rice. They're not going and cut down papayas from a papaya tree to make papaya salad at dinner. They're not fishing for their dinner. They're not, yeah, they're hard work. I guess, I don't know. Never mind. I said I wasn't going to judge people, and there I go judging people. But the hardest thing is like I just don't know a lot about my mom than what she's told me in the short amount of time of my life that I've gotten to spend with her. Um, when my mom left, the last time that I remember seeing her was at my fifth birthday, and then all the way until I was 9 years old. So that's about 4 years. When Mount Pinatubo erupted in the Philippines, all the families were evacuated out of Clark Air Base, where they were picked up by the USS Abraham Lincoln aircraft carrier, which took us and sailed towards Guam. And Guam is where my mom happened to have lived at that time when the volcano erupted. So my dad knew she was there and told her we were going there. She was to pick us up on Anderson Air Force Base. And when we got to Guam, I saw my mom again, and I was very happy, because my mom, I'm a mama's boy. My mom spoiled me a lot when I was a kid, and even when I went to Guam to live with her, my mom would let me get away with small things, but I was never causing her any major problems. My older sister was, because she was going through adolescence and stress and anger and everything like that from the divorce and everything. Me, I just buried the divorce pain deep inside and just acted like everything was okay and lived with it. But yeah, so we lived with my mom, and it was tough, and I didn't get to spend much time with my mom, even though I was living with her, because she was working two jobs. She was working as, housekeeping at a hotel, and then she was working as a bartender at night. So the only time I really saw my mom was when she got off work from the housekeeping job. She'd be home by like 3 in the afternoon. She would cook us dinner. She would ask my sister to do her chores and clean up and to take care of me as my mom got ready to work at the bar, and she would go to work from 6 in the evening until midnight. Get off work at midnight, come home, go to sleep, get up, go to work in the morning after dropping my sister off to school and dropping me off to school, and then she would go to work. That was her daily routine. Tough woman. Okay, my mom's like 5'1", 5'2", she's Thai, she's from Thailand, very tough woman. But as you can imagine, I didn't get to spend much time with my mom. I didn't get to really like sit around and pick her brain about, her side of the family. I was gonna say our side. It is my side too. But I lived with my mom for a few years, and then my sister got into too much trouble. So my mom thought it was best that my sister lived with my dad. And my dad has this philosophy that if you take one, you take both. You never split up siblings. So he took me also as well to go live with him, and he had settled back down in Hawaii. So we went to live with my dad in Hawaii, where the roles reversed. My sister was already transitioning into moving out and getting her in her own life already, and I was getting into a lot of troubles. I was hanging out with gangs. I was doing stupid things like graffitiing. I was getting into the graffiti culture, breakdancing, skateboarding. I never was really one to like to smoke weed, so thank God for that. My dad didn't have to worry about that. I wasn't into smoking weed. I didn't like the effects that it made me feel. Some people like getting high. I guess for me, I don't. But I was getting into a lot of trouble. I mean, I was arrested so many times to the point that my juvenile probation officer literally told my dad and the judge on when I got kidnapping charges. She recommended that I leave to live with my mom, leave the state of Hawaii, and not be able to return until my 21st birthday. I was literally kicked out of the state of Hawaii for all the fighting, all the crap I got myself into. But her second husband was very abusive towards me. He did some really fucked up shit, and I don't want to get into that. And I remember at one point, like, he hated my guts, and he didn't like my sister, and so my mom had no choice. She had a friend that had like this tin metal shed. There was like no running electricity, no running, bathroom or anything like that. It was just like a small tin shed, big enough to fit my mom's waterbed in there, but the ground was made of dirt, and the walls was made of like that wavy tin that you see on like shed roofs, and everything was made out of tin metal. We were living in that for a couple of months, and that's where I got sick with appendicitis. It ruptured, it nearly killed me, and so I went through like 5 different surgeries on my stomach and had part of my abdominal wall removed, and my mom was there every step of the way. So that was the second time that I lived with my mom. I lived with her from that point until where her husband took a job in Washington State, so I moved with my mom and him to Washington State because my sister was already a grown adult. She was pregnant with her first child, which is my oldest nephew, and so she was back in Hawaii living with her fiance, soon to be husband. Well, no, they were married already. So yeah, her ex husband. And my mom and we left with her husband to live in Washington State, where I felt isolated and alone. Didn't really know anybody. There was people in Enumclaw, Washington, that didn't like me. But I tried to take that opportunity, not having friends, not having distractions, to really get to know my mom. But then my mom and her husband developed a habit of going to the casino and going to bingo and gambling, and so I rarely seen her then. She was always gone. Plus, she had a drinking problem too when I was a young kid too. So when we were living in Guam, she drank a lot with her friends and whatever. The most that I ever got from my mom, really, was a little bit of info about my grandmother, a couple of her sisters, my aunts, and a little bit of my culture, my Thai culture. And so I've taken the liberty of looking up more research about my culture myself. It is why, if you guys see the name Thai OS, is like my core software. I am learning as much as I can from my mom's culture to understand her better. So the difference is that my dad, he was always around in my life, and he was always able to tell me things about his growing up, the things that he went through and everything like that. And I'm lucky to have that. I'm lucky that I had my dad. I don't want my dad to ever feel like that he wasn't good enough. I love my dad to death. That's my dad. He's my rock. And I'm very blessed. So it's like when you get one really good thing, which was being able to have that bond with my dad, I lost having a bond with my mother, and that's what totally sucks. And now that my mom is, on the brink where she may pass, and then, it's hard to try to get her back out of Thailand back to the United States. And it's like a good possibility that it won't happen, so I won't get to actually say goodbye to my mom face to face or be by her side when she takes her last breath. Really, really, really fucks with my head. It's something that I've been dealing with inside for the last couple of years, and it's really hard for me to focus on a lot of other things and have that in the back of my head too, and dealing with all the other extra bullshit that I really don't need to be dealing with, just added more on top of me and just weighted me down on a lot of things. And it's really where I struggled the last year. I personally don't care what people think about me or what they say about me or whatever vicious lies they want to throw out there. I don't care, but this past year, it got to me, not because of what they said, but because what I'm already presently dealing with. Knowing that if I picked up my phone and called my mom tomorrow, she may not answer the phone, and that will tell me she's gone.